We have a trust problem in our city. There's not a great deal of trust between the Portland police and the wider community. And so putting someone like Commissioner Hardesty, who comes from a background of police reform that's more radical, that's a little bit more community-oriented and progressive and with a lens to racial justice, is how she's going to be able to lead us with her 30 years of concrete experience demonstrating a different kind of leadership. Well, I want my mayor to be able to solve problems and rise to the occasion, if you will, but the complete lack of trust and faith in him right now from all corners of the city has us a bit of a spinning our wheels, if you will, where it feels like we can't get out of it for lack of trying. It's not that there's not energy or power behind it, but we're just spinning and spinning. And in part, I think that's what drives people's call for him to resign, because, you know, the leadership would be putting those 2x4s under those wheels and getting us out of the mud, and he's just not been able to do it. The moratorium on the sweeps, I think, is important, because what we've seen over time is that we put a lot of money into moving people from one end of the block to the other without a good answer for what happens on the other end of that displacement. People talk a lot about defund the police, but I really believe that you have to talk about it in terms of reallocation. So if we're going to draw down the militarized or highly criminal justice oriented interventions in public safety, then what will we invest in on the other side of that? Right? What we're upending is systems that are centuries old. And carving out new ground is going to be challenging. But if any place can do it, it's Portland. I have consistently said that violence is wrong no matter who does it. But the distinction is my unwillingness to call graffiti violence and my unwillingness to call vandalism violence, when what we really know is violence is bodily harm. And my focus has consistently been on making sure that we're not accepting police violence, right? When we talk about deploying tear gas, munitions, rubber bullets into crowds, that is indiscriminate violence against large groups of people, the majority of whom are not engaged in any illegal activity at all. When you have multiple groups, Black Lives Matter demonstrators on one side and the Patriot Prayer or Proud Boys on the other, from my firsthand experience and the accounts of people like me who go to protests, the police are more sympathetic to the white nationalists than they are to the Black Lives Matter activists. And so if that is the case, and if it is the case that we have seen police brutality be the response to protests about police brutality, and yet we see white nationalists and white supremacists coming to town as if the police are almost an escort for them to arrive safely and leave safely, I would actually like to see less law enforcement there and more support of community engagement, right? What would it mean for us to follow almost the Vortex model, where we're throwing community parties and it was teach-ins around everyday anti-fascism and an inclusive society and anti-racism trainings and mutual aid trainings and how you can become a part of like whatever a community fair even, because I bring a unique skill set with my background in small business, as a mom, as someone who understands urban policy both locally and globally. I'm really well equipped to serve the city right now. But under traditional ways that people fund campaigns, I wouldn't necessarily be perceived that way. But because I've been able to go out to the community through this publicly financed campaign model where I have had to build a broad coalition even to qualify. It really is about the ideas that I'm putting on the table and the unique coalitions that I will build and the relationships that I'll get to invest in with that open door policy. And I don't know that many Portlanders understand that. I don't know that they understand the dynamics of how campaigns are financed or what that means, but it really does mean that not a single special interest will have my ear, but that's really the people of Portland who will be able to come together and shape the future of the city, which is really important right now.